Okay, we're ready to go. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Greg Sabaski. I'm the CEO of Ascend Learning. I want to thank you all for attending today. This is a story that I love to talk about. It's a company that most of you probably don't know much about because Ascend Learning is probably known from an investor point of view, since in the past year we came under the ownership of Blackstone and the Canada Pension Plan under new ownership, which kind of given us a new lease, if you will, towards growth looking forward. But I want to talk to you about some of the specific value we bring to the education marketplace by digging deep into the businesses we're in and the 14 brands that are represented under the Ascend umbrella, names you might recognize. In our organization, however, when we think about the work that we do, we think about changing lives. And so our rallying cry inside of Ascend always starts with "We change lives." And we're changing lives in a number of ways. One is with the student who's entering a new profession. Secondly, we're helping change the lives, in many cases, of faculty or employers in terms of improving their ability to do the job that they want to do in a productive way. And then the third dimension would be we're changing lives in the people that these new professionals serve. Example here is nursing, one of our largest businesses. We're all interested in putting more nurses into the market to close that gap as they're being asked to do more, but we're also interested in having great nurses in the marketplace to serve us and our family members as well. That's true of other careers we focus on, pharmacy technicians that interact with all of you on a regular basis when you show up at CVS or Walgreens or Rite Aid. Personal trainers through our National Academy of Sports Medicine, a scientific-based approach to personal training, hopefully working with you on the front end of healthcare, which is wellness, but also working with other people in your family, including seniors, to improve their healthcare. And then another example here in the public safety arena, we actually train about 80% of the EMTs and paramedics in the United States and in Canada. So there's an 8 in 10 chance if an ambulance or a fire truck shows up at your home with a first responder, they've been trained through the tools that we provide into the marketplace, and we take that role very seriously. And then lastly, even in the construction market, if you look at construction workers and the issues of workman's comp and safety, if you're working at Hudson Yards, you're working at Tesla's Fremont factory, or in Reno, you're taking courses within one of our Ascend companies to manage workplace safety in that environment. So in all cases, we're changing lives of people across society, and it's an ambition we take quite seriously. And the important thing for that is when we look at the skills gap in the United States, and this is an assembly of data from the Bureau of Labor Statistics, but also from a Georgetown Center for Workforce and Employment. And if you look at the skills gap and the availability of jobs versus the supply, you can see it starts with healthcare practitioners, doctors, nurses, physical therapists, and others as the primary category. And then dropping down a little bit, you also see healthcare support. Those would be your allied healthcare jobs, nursing assistants, pharmacy technicians, phlebotomists that draw blood, and others. And so the significant gap, and it's only increasing with the rate of retirements and the level of job satisfaction in some of these careers. And so as a company, we look at this data pretty carefully, because if there's a certification or licensure involved in entering that profession, and there's a large job gap and it's growing significantly, we're going to participate in that market. That's how we think about the business of employment and changing lives every day. So today we do this at scale. We actually help about 225,000 nurses prepare for the NCLEX licensing exam every year. We help about 150,000 students every year enter allied health care careers. So that's definitely at scale. 80,000 doctors preparing for their board exams at the end of their residency. They've got to prep for that board exam, so we touch about 80,000 physicians in that process. And then more recently, with a company we acquired called Cognito, and our CEO of Cognito is here today, we're actually touching about 250,000 people and helping them through simulation tools actually improve the way they have conversations with people. Now, that's going to help our healthcare workers in terms of helping them with soft skills, but more critically, in some of the work Cognito does today, they're helping schools administrators, faculty, and teachers have conversations with students and identify people at risk that may need to be guided towards some kind of intervention in their life. And so that's a really cool business, but the applicability of simulation training using avatars and so forth in other settings that we address is going to be a very, very important growth aspect for us. Also at scale, about 1 million college and graduate school students through the content we provide in these careers. As I mentioned earlier, OSHA certifications for construction workers and factory workers, 60,000 a year. 100,000 students learn how to repair trucks and cars in the automotive segment. And then through NASM, our fitness business, 40,000 professionals become certified and go to work as personal trainers in the marketplace. And then 650,000 first responders, fire, ambulance staff, police, and others that are trained utilizing our tools. So you can see the ways that we touch society across a wide range of careers at scale. And in every case, we're a market leader in these businesses. This is what I said earlier. There's 14 brands in Ascend, which is why we don't go to market as Ascend. These brands are quite strong, ranging anywhere from market share of 50% to 80% in their individual markets. Healthcare is our largest vertical with a number of brands touching nursing, physicians, allied healthcare, et cetera. Fitness and wellness, NASM, our largest business for personal training certification. AF is a group fitness business that's coupled to that, and then our international business for training through Premier Global. Think about professional certification and licensure, the third one to the right, as a business that's handling public safety, but let's call it middle skills for now, an ambition to help close the gap between the demand and the need for workers in the middle skills arena. And so we're doing a number of innovative things there through partnerships with other people for content to drive the growth of middle skills candidates into those jobs. And then to the far right, yes, we are still in the solutions business, selling digital curricula to schools, but that's largely concentrated in graduate level nursing, masters in public health, and masters in health administration. So the portfolio is definitely healthcare weighted, and much of the profitability is driven in that segment, but we still have ambitions to touch these other careers that I mentioned earlier to help solve this large gap between the availability of workers and the jobs that exist in the marketplace today. The other thing we did at Ascend is, it was once known as a test prep company, and we expanded the solution definition pretty substantially a few years ago. And that was to be able to focus on helping schools decide which students to admit, continuing to help them learn and assess their progress, ultimately helping them get their credentials, but not ignoring the opportunity once they're employed to continue to enhance their skill set. And then lastly, a lot of these careers have a relicensing requirement or a recertification requirement. So we try to close the entire loop when we look at the business model. And that's kept us very, very busy in building out a platform that's shared across all the businesses that is analytics heavy in terms of providing the assessment to accelerate the process of learning, but also to improve the workflow for these students. And not just the workflow in the school. A lot of these careers also require an apprenticeship phase, and so our software actually can support scheduling, assessment, and evaluation of students as they're going through their apprenticeship phase as well. And we think it's a differentiated approach because we're providing didactic learning. We can do assessment and remediation, but we can also help support the experiential learning and close the loop around these students in a very comprehensive way. So let me just talk about nursing for a second, because that's our biggest business. It's the one that's created most of the tool sets that we're now adopting across our business, and that's because we've been doing it at scale for a while. We touch about 60,000 nursing faculty on an annual basis and have very tight relationships with the deans across 2,100 colleges and universities nationwide. So very, very impressive business. And we're touching about half the people studying nursing on an annual basis. So very deep into this market, which is an important point as you think about assessment, because we're collecting so much data on how people learn and how they're moving through the process, that when a state is thinking about adapting different standards with their state board of nursing or at a national level, they generally come to us as kind of a consultant, if you will, to help evolve those standards. And that's true across all the careers we touch because we have such high market shares. We have more data than anybody else to help improve these learning paths. So I'm going to talk about 3 clients, the first being the Holy Name Medical Center and the College of Nursing. And I'll be progressive here. One client we're helping with kind of front-end retention or persistence issues. Next client, we'll talk about pass rate on exams. And then my last client, which is one of my favorite clients, we'll talk about the comprehensive their work that they're doing in the state of California to improve the flow of nurses into that marketplace. So here's a school, in Teaneck, New Jersey, that is looking at, an attrition rate of 20% in the freshman class. And those of you in the education sector know that as those seats sit empty, there's a loss of revenue for those seats because there's not tuition coming in. Plus, they're not meeting their mission of putting enough students into the marketplace at the end of their process. And it's hard to recruit students when you've got a persistence challenge like that. So they adopted some of our tools through our business called ATI Nursing to be able to evaluate students who have been admitted to the program, but to test them right up front on their essential skills and things like basic science and math, and realize that they have a remediation issue in front of them. And although ATI also offers an admissions exam that can be given to students prior to admission, in this case, students who would already be admitted were showing up in the program with really the inability to survive a nursing program because of the difficulty and complexity of it. And so by putting in place these tools and evaluating these students at the front end of their cycle and having the faculty wrap remediation that was customized for individual students, we were able to cut that attrition rate to 10% from 20%. And get more people through the pipe. A more advanced application of our tool set, Wingate University in North Carolina, opened a nursing school in 2012 with a goal of a 90% pass rate on the licensing exam. So imagine you're a dean of that school, and at the end of your first cohort, you end up with a 45% pass rate. How do you compete in a marketplace for students with a 45% pass rate on a national exam for nursing? So they needed help from us to turn that situation around, and they adopted one of our products in ATI called Pulse. And this is a product where we're constantly giving students small exams to assess their progress. And as part of these dashboards, both for the faculty and the student, they can see when they're getting a green light, because we can predict at any point in time over a 2-year program or a 4-year program what their probability of passing the NCLEX exam will be. So the interventions can happen early, they can happen comprehensively, and in many cases they can happen without involvement of the faculty, because we actually push remediation modules directly to the student based upon the performance on this Pulse exam. And so the power of data and the power of analytics in this process is really incredible. And this is a school that, like I said, was at 45% in their first year, or I should say their first cohort coming through the cycle. But with this tool, they had 100% pass rate in the last cohort, well above the market average, and that's a huge win for them, their dean, their president, and their community. And as I said, my favorite client, West Coast University in California, this is an important client because they put more bachelor degree nurses into the California market than any other school in the state. So they are a huge supplier at the bachelor's degree level, which most hospitals are asking for today. And again, they also had some struggles with pass rate. And they decided, after working with us, to adopt what we call our complete product. It's a bundle of a full range of services that the faculty has adopted in order to manage the student population through their 4-year program in this bachelor's degree. And now they're seeing a consistent 90% pass rate on the NCLEX exam, a high-stakes exam. And it's a really, really important supplier to the California market. And given our position in California, we've been involved even with the chancellor of schools and others at the state level trying to solve the problem of a lack of candidate pool in the nursing market in California. And so as we can help schools like West Coast and their counterparts in that state and other states where there's a big gap because of a growing population, we can address these needs in a very comprehensive way. And so we're really proud of what we've done there. Now, in addition to some of the tools we have for retention and also for predicting a student's ability to pass their entrance exam, there's a whole range of other services that schools have adopted that are actually offered to students post-graduation that help them with soft skills and other skills that make them more employable. You can imagine a nurse is going to want to be hired in their first or second choice job. And in many cases, we're able to help improve their employability as well. And so when I talk about our business and the various segments we're in, it's a very customer intimate model in that we try to talk to the employers and work back from understanding the emerging needs of the employers and the regulators all the way back through the process to the actual entrance exam and preparation for entering a career, as opposed to just being a test prep company that's living off of a large question bank, because that's not the right way to create success, we don't think, for our clients or for the communities that many of these schools serve. So as I said before, we help students enter these programs well prepared. Our primary business is about sustaining themselves in the program and then sustaining themselves in employment. And then lastly, succeed. We have so many students that have studied with us throughout the phase and have entered careers. What we haven't done a very good job of doing is staying in touch with them and offering continuing education and other services and recertification services to them, and that's a growing part of our business. We like to think about what we do as we help students accelerate their time to competence. Competence defined not only as being able to pass a certification exam that's difficult, but also competence in being able to find a job relatively quickly in the primary venue that you want to work in. And then lastly, I said earlier, this is all based upon using advanced technology and analytics and some large investments we've made there in order to improve the learning process. And the combination of these things, going very deep in these verticals, as I mentioned, allow us to continue to change lives, not only of these students and the faculty and how they manage student populations, but also changing the lives of the people they serve in the various markets in North America. Thank you. I see we have, what, a minute and a half for questions? Any questions from the audience? Yes, over here. We work in nursing, yeah, we work with both curriculum and concept-based programs. We've had to adapt some of the solutions, right, to meet the concept-based approach, but yes, we work with both. Any other, yes, question right here. Yes, the question is, do we support the online programs? The answer is yes, we do, right? Since everything we do here is digital. Yes, so we support the online programs, and you know, the online programs, just like the physical programs, do have this need for clinical time, which is hard to find and it's expensive. So part of the reason we invested in the simulation business with Cognito is to actually help build simulation tools that can reduce the need for some of the physical time that's costly. And so most state boards allow 50% of the clinical time to be satisfied through simulation, believe it or not, and so that's what we're doing with many of the online programs. Okay, I think I'm done. Thank you.